Everybody get up, no need to cram now. We got a real jam going down, going down, going down, going down, going down, going down. Welcome to the IntelliJAMS.
This is probably a good way to just jump into it. What do you feel like jamming on? Do you feel like jamming on drilling down into the results of an experiment, or do you want to jam on stat sig, taking big swings?
Let's jam. Well, actually, those are kind of related. Let's jam on drilling down in stat sig.
Let's do it
I love
both.
it. Yeah, a little twofer.
All right, so this kind of topic came up. There was some conversation happening on Twitter about someone celebrating the results that they were seeing, and then the community kind of coming back and be like, is it stat sig? And it was at like 96% or something. And a lot of people were like, oh, you should really wait till it's 98 or 99. And there was just like a lot of chatter that happened around that. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and then we can kind of go into like big swings and stat sig in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think that right now we're not saving lives. This isn't medicine. This isn't cancer therapy. Like, honestly, we're trying to grow our profits, and it's not an easy endeavor, and this is hard stuff. But I don't think we also need to be extraordinarily scientific about it. I also think that there's a lot of place for intuition and our own beliefs. And so if you believe that something is going to do better, and then with 96% probability or 85% probability that thing is doing better, it's a pretty good chance that thing's going to do better. And so I think that there's a trade-off here. The trade-off is get more data and be more confident with the opportunity cost to go take on the next thing. And so if I'm able to say, hey, I'm confident enough to move forward, let's go do the next thing, then let's presume that I had a true positive, and now I get to bag that early and go try the next thing, and I can fit more tests in and more opportunities to improve my site. That's going to be better off in the long run than being really confident. The reason to be really confident is because a false positive could be potentially really harmful. So yeah, in medicine, a false positive, or thinking that a drug is effective when it's not, would be a really bad thing if a bunch of people started taking drugs that were doing nothing for them. But in this business, like, we're always doing things. It's changing so quickly. Time and speed is such an important, critical part of this. So that's kind of my rough take.
You said something at the end there that really resonated with me, is like, hey, we're not operating with like fixed conditions a lot of the time in D2C or in e-com. Market's changing, how I'm advertising is changing. There's just so many variables at play that like it's really hard to be like, I am 100% confident in this result anyway.
Yeah. And then going back to intuition and stat sig, I mean, there's a scenario that comes up all the time with people running an A/B test where the results are super, super close. And so statistical significance actually maybe worth saying, and I hope this isn't mansplaining, is that the bigger the delta that we're measuring, so the bigger the effect, the more confident we can be with less data. So the amount of data needed is a function of how big the effect is. So for measuring a really, really small effect, you need more data. To measure a really big effect, you need a lot less data. Okay, so if I'm taking a big swing and I'm trying to do something that's going to have a huge impact, I shouldn't need that much data. If you're going down a path and you've got a lot of data, and the impact is really small, therefore the statistical significance is going to be like, oh, it's like 50, it's a coin toss still. Well, It's a coin toss because the impact is so low, even though you have a lot of data. So if the impact is really low, why wait for more data to try and find the winner when just use your intuition? Something like, at this point, whichever path you choose, there's probably not a huge opportunity cost, which can be measured and represented statistically as well. But there's probably not a huge opportunity cost that you're taking because the data is measuring so closely. And that's why the statistical significance is so narrow, like, oh, it's 50-50. And go take a big swing, because a big swing is going to get data faster. You're going to like see the impact, and it's going to have a more meaningful impact on your business.
Let's talk about that for a second. I did a post on LinkedIn the other day, and it was like, help, my business isn't growing. And then it's like, hey, have you tried changing the button color? Like there's some of these things that like you're making these small changes, and again, it becomes a coin toss. But I think that's one of the most important things about IntelliJAMS is like go beyond content, go beyond like what is just being shown on the page. So when we say take a big swing, like honestly, when a lot of people are doing price testing, like they reach that sig pretty quick because like a price change is a big swing.
It's a huge swing. I mean, you know, if you think about it, a 10% change in price. Let's say you have an item for $45 and you're thinking about, well, should I increase it from 45 to 49? That's about a 10% change in price. That's a pretty big change in price. Now, if I told you that on average, we see that customer elasticity can be often in like the 1.5 to 2x, meaning that a 10% change in price could be a 15 to 20% change in conversion. That's huge. Like what do you do in your business that's going to change conversion by 15 or 20%? Like nothing. I mean, so, you know, so the flip side of that is obviously, okay, I have a $45 item, lowering it to $40 is going to potentially also have a 15 to 20% increase in conversion. That's where these are big swings. And that's why, like, yeah, changing prices by what feels like a couple dollars. Well, a couple dollars is actually a big percentage, and a big percentage can yield an even bigger percentage in changing conversion. So that's why, yeah, I mean, but prices is not just the price. There's so many things here. But yeah, there's a lot of big swings to be taken.
I think it's really interesting. Like, shout out to Jerry was the one who told me about this. We'll give our listeners a link to go check out some of Jerry's content. He goes really deep. We were talking about the concept of like the straddle test and like, hey, take this price and like go up 10%, go down 10%. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about this with someone and they're like, yeah, but what about like everything in the middle? It's like, yeah, you might be like moving the guardrails too far. And it's like, to your point though, we're taking a big swing. Go figure out like, is something working here? And then you can start to fine tune it over time. It's like, don't try to micro optimize to something. Like go take a big swing and then like hone it in.
Yeah. Like we're on a par 5. We're on the tee box of a par 5. Like we don't want to start with our putter. You know what I mean?
That is a fantastic analogy. Yes. Go take a big swing. Go hit your driver, and
Absolutely.
Then we'll figure out what the best club is from there. Because chances are the driver is the best club off the tee. Absolutely.
9 times out of 10.
Okay, last question on this topic. You said like, hey, pricing is just like one type of big swing. Obviously, like I said at the beginning here, IntelliJAMS content testing, there's so much more than you can do than just changing what you see on the page. Besides pricing, like any other big swings that you think people should be trying to take?
I think the offers, and we could do a whole episode about this, but I think the offers are way too liberal, way too generous. I think that we should all be discounting and providing offers a lot less and a lot more targeted. That's like my hot take on that. But there's a ton of other big swings. I mean, in the whole like funnel where you're driving traffic, how you're presenting and positioning your product. There's a lot that can go into that for sure.
I like that was short and succinct. And at the top of this episode, we said we were going to go into drilling down into your analytics, and then we started to get way too into the stat sig. So next episode, we'll jam on drilling down into the analytics and different testing offers. I think is a jam in its own.